Maggie's Route 74 diner wasn't the kind of place people wrote home about. The sign buzzed slightly in the heat. Its letters, once a bold neon red, now blinked with the kind of tired familiarity that matched the lives inside. The bell over the door chimed half-heartedly whenever someone came in. Regulars barely looked up anymore. They were too used to the smell of bacon grease, the sharp sound of spatulas scraping cast iron, and the low rumble of morning talk shows playing off a mounted TV in the corner. But it wasn't the coffee or the eggs that gave the diner its soul. It was its people. And Monica Traylor? She was part of the furniture now, even if she never quite felt like it. Most people thought they knew Monica. To the regulars, she was the scarred woman with the quiet voice who brought them their hash browns and refilled their coffee like clockwork. She never complained. Never asked questions. Never shared stories. And yet, they noticed her. Not for her service. For her arms. Twisting, angry scars ran down from her wrists to her elbows, jagged, uneven reminders of a past no one understood but everyone speculated about. Monica never wore short sleeves. Even in July, with humidity thick enough to chew, her shirts were rolled just high enough to reveal the edges of trauma. Rumors flew, of course. Meth addict. Ex-con. Suicide attempt. Prison fights. Dark whispers in the booths after she walked away. People filled the blanks in with their own fears and biases. Because that was easier than asking. Easier than knowing. Monica never corrected them. ACT2, trouble at table 5. The morning wore on. The regulars shuffled in and out, each bringing with them their own rhythms, their routines. Monica moved among them like muscle memory, coffee pot in hand, a small nod here, a faint smile there. Nothing forced. Nothing offered beyond what was required. Just before noon, the air changed. The quiet hum of the diner paused as the door swung open and 4 young men strolled in, loud and laughing in a way that didn't match the rest of the room. They looked out of place, and maybe that was the point. Ball caps turned backward, arms inked in messy tattoos, smelling like last night's beer and this morning's bad decisions. They pushed 2 tables together near the front, not asking, just taking. One of them kicked a chair sideways and flopped into it like it owed him money. Monica clocked them instantly. Not regulars. Probably local. The kind that drove loud trucks and tossed beer cans out the window. They were already drawing eyes. A few of the older patrons stiffened, but no one said anything. "Y'all got chicken fried steak," one of them hollered without looking at a menu. Monica walked over, pen in hand. "Yeah. Comes with mashed potatoes or fries." The guy grinned. "I'll take that, sweetheart. And bring some hot sauce. Not that weak stuff." Another leaned forward, squinting at her arms. "Damn," he said loud enough for half the diner to hear. "What happened to you? That from a meth lab, or what?" Laughter. Monica froze for a breath, then jotted the order down, her face unreadable. "Come on, I'm serious," the first one pushed. "That don't look like no accident. You run into a fire or something? Or maybe got wild with the razor blades back in juvie?" More laughter. At the counter, Frank put down his coffee cup. He hadn't touched his eggs. Monica turned without a word and disappeared into the kitchen. Her hands trembled slightly around her notepad. Earl, the cook, caught her eye but didn't say anything. Earl never asked questions, but he saw everything. Out in the dining room, the taunts continued. "They let that serve food? Man, I hope she don't bleed in my gravy. She probably sleeps out back behind the dumpster." The diners didn't all laugh. But they didn't speak either. Some looked away. Some pretended not to hear. 1 or 2 shook their heads but said nothing. Because that was easier. Frank watched, his jaw clenched, his fingers curling around the handle of his cane. Monica came back out with the drinks, moving in a practiced rhythm. She placed each cup without flinching. When she turned to walk away, one of the boys made a loud sizzling sound with his mouth. "Careful now," he said. "Don't spill nothing. We don't want no acid burns." The table roared with laughter. Monica stopped, just for a second. Just long enough. Frank stood. No drama. No yelling. He placed one hand flat on the counter and rose slowly. "Hey." The laughter stopped. Not completely, but enough. Frank walked toward the table, slow but sure, his cane tapping once with each step. "You boys think you're funny?" One of them leaned back, trying to laugh it off. "Relax, old man. We're just talking." Frank looked over at Monica, then back at the table. "You ever serve?" They looked at each other. "What?" I said. "Did any of you ever serve? Military. Army. Marines. Navy. Anything?" "Hell no," the one in the cut-off shirt scoffed. "Ain't nobody tryin' to get blown up in the desert." Frank nodded slowly. "Didn't think so." The diner was quiet now. Forks rested on plates. Even the background noise from the kitchen dimmed. "What's that ink on your arm?" Frank asked, turning slightly toward Monica. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried. She hesitated. For the first time in a long while, uncertainty passed across her face. "It's 19th Forward Support Battalion. Afghanistan." Frank blinked. 2011. She nodded. He exhaled. Hard. Then he said the words that shifted the ground beneath their feet. "My daughter was in that unit." The weight of it hung in the air. Rebecca Delgado. Combat medic. Kandahar. Helmand. Logar. She talked about a woman in her unit, a woman with scars. A woman who dragged her and two others out of a burning MRAP after a hit. Monica didn't move. Frank stepped in closer. "She said the woman came back twice under fire. Said she wouldn't be alive if it weren't for her." The boys at the table suddenly had nothing to say. The heat in their faces wasn't from the weather. Monica looked down at her arms. Then back at Frank. "That was a long time ago. But not forgotten," he said. And in that moment, everything in the diner changed. Act 3, the weight of scars and the power of witness. The silence stretched long after Frank's words settled in the air, thick with meaning. Forks remained suspended. Conversations died in throats. Even the clink of coffee mugs came to a respectful halt. Monica stood motionless. It wasn't fear or shame that kept her still. It was memory, raw, sharp-edged memory flashing behind her eyes like headlights in a dark road. Her breathing was steady, but shallow. Her eyes locked with Frank's, silently searching. "I never thought I'd meet her father," she finally said, voice low, rough with emotion. Frank stepped closer. "Becky talked about you. Said she never met anyone braver." Monica gave a small, humorless laugh. "She saved plenty of lives herself. We took care of each other." Frank nodded slowly. "That convoy, she said it was the worst hit they took. IED caught the undercarriage, flipped the lead vehicle. Yours." Monica looked down again, this time at her hands. "We lost Sanchez. And Pruitt. I tried to get them all out. The flames were quick. But you got Rebecca out. And two others. She told me you came back under fire. She said you didn't even think about it, you just moved." "Didn't feel brave," Monica whispered. "It felt like drowning." Frank's jaw tightened. "You bought me years with my daughter. She came home. Got married. Raised her boy. We had Christmases. Birthdays. And it was because of you. The young men at the table didn't say a word. One of them, the tallest, had paled, his fingers wrapped tightly around a paper napkin he'd twisted into a rope. The boy in red flannel lowered his head. Shame moved through them like a cold wind. Frank turned to them. You laughed at scars you didn't understand. Do you even know what it means to earn marks like those? To carry the price of someone else's life on your body? No one answered. Monica took a breath. She wasn't trembling anymore. Her voice held steady now, clear and solemn. It was Convoy Bravo. March 17, 2011. We were moving back from a forward drop near Logar. We hit 2 pressure plates. Lost 3 vehicles. We didn't even know where the fire was coming from. I dragged Becky out through the rear axle breach. My gloves melted. Skin went with them. Someone in the back quietly set down their silverware. Frank's eyes glistened, but he didn't look away. She said you sat with her afterward. Wouldn't leave. Even when the medics came. She was in shock. Crying. I just held her hand. Told her the pain meant she was alive. Told her, the worst was over. For a long time, no one spoke. Finally, Monica said, almost to herself, people around here, they didn't want the truth. They wanted something easy to gossip about. Easier to believe I did it to myself than to ask what happened. Frank looked around. Well, they know now. And indeed, they did. The entire diner had transformed. It wasn't just silence. It was reverence. Embarrassment. Reflection. Even the cook Earl stepped halfway through the swinging kitchen doors, a hand towel tossed over one shoulder, face unreadable. The boy in red flannel finally spoke, voice low and thin. I didn't know. I swear. We were just messing around. We didn't mean nothing. That's the problem, Monica replied evenly. You didn't mean anything. But I live with those words, every day. Frank turned toward the counter, his cane tapping softly as he walked back. He sat down slowly, wincing with age and effort. Monica looked out at the room. This time, no one avoided her gaze. And just like that, for the first time in years, she felt seen. Act4, a town reckons, and the truth spreads like fire. The tension didn't vanish, but it shifted. The discomfort was no longer Monica's to carry alone. It was redistributed, spread like a quiet wildfire through the tables, settling heavy in the hearts of those who had chosen silence for too long. Near the window, a woman in her 70s stirred her tea without drinking it. She hadn't spoken to Monica in months, always swapped booths when she saw her working. Now, she couldn't even meet Monica's eyes. A man at the corner booth, used to joking loudly with his buddies, sometimes at Monica's expense, cleared his throat and pushed his plate away. He suddenly wasn't hungry. Frank sat back at the counter, watching it all. His cane leaned against his leg, his hands folded neatly in front of him. He didn't need to say more. The weight of truth had already done the talking. Monica moved through the diner slowly, not in shame but in a calm ownership of space. She refilled coffee cups. She cleared plates. But now, each step felt different. The room didn't just watch her, they saw her. Earl, the cook, stepped out of the kitchen and walked up to her with 2 full plates balanced on his arms. He didn't say much, never did, but he gave her a nod, solid and clear. Respect. No longer just a working rhythm, but recognition. She returned the nod. At table 5, the young men sat slouched now. Their loud arrogance had drained from them. The kid in red flannel fidgeted, then stood. His voice cracked slightly. I didn't know. I'm sorry. Monica turned to him. Next time, don't wait to learn someone's story before treating them like a person. The boy nodded, shame stitched into every movement. His friends followed, filing out in quiet, leaving behind a few bills on the table. Not for the food. For the damage. Frank sipped his coffee again. She's not just a waitress, he said aloud, to no one and everyone. She's a hero who wore the uniform. Who paid a price most of us couldn't bear. And we repaid her with whispers. A woman at a nearby booth, a teacher at the local high school, folded her hands. I'm sorry too, she said quietly. I should have seen her. Monica paused, holding a coffee pot, unsure what to do with that much honesty. So much of her life had been performed in the shadows, surviving in the in-between spaces of people's assumptions. But now the lights were on. A teenager across the diner leaned to her mom and whispered, "She's a soldier." "Yes, baby," her mother replied. A real one. It wasn't applause. It wasn't some grandstanding tribute. It was a shift. Recognition. The kind that didn't fade when the plates were cleared. Act 5, the final truth, the empty booth, and a future rewritten. 2 days passed. Monica showed up for her shift like she always did. 10 minutes early, hair tied back, sleeves rolled to the same quiet line where her scars began. Nothing about her walk said anything had changed. But everything had. Earl had cleaned out the old bulletin board behind the register. Where there used to be local garage ads and curling coupons, there was now a photo, a faded image of Monica in fatigues, one arm draped around a smiling Rebecca Delgado, both women in full gear, dessert behind them. Below it, a typed caption read, "No one left behind, Bravo Convoy, Afghanistan 2011. Thank you, Monica." Frank had mailed it in. Earl posted it himself. No questions asked. When Monica walked in and saw it, she stopped. Her breath caught for a second. Earl didn't say anything. Just nodded to the griddle. Back in booth 3, Mr. Jenkins slid an envelope across the table toward her when she refilled his coffee. "For what it's worth," he said. "That's from the VFW. They'd like to talk to you. Invite you to a dinner." Said they didn't realize they had a sister in town. Monica blinked, nodded, and tucked the envelope into her apron. More people started greeting her by name. More people stopped whispering. And table 5? It sat empty for weeks. The 4 young men hadn't been back, not yet, at least. But one afternoon, just after the lunch rush, Monica found a note folded beneath the napkin holder. It read, "We're sorry. You deserved better. Thank you for what you did, for all of us." No signature. Just silence and sincerity. The booth stayed empty that day. But it didn't feel like a space of avoidance anymore. It felt like a space of learning. That evening, as dusk settled outside the diner windows, Monica lingered for a moment at the counter. Frank wasn't there that day. His stool was empty, but a small envelope had been left for her by Earl. Inside was a single photograph, Rebecca and her son, Frank's grandson, smiling wide on a fishing pier. A sticky note on the back said, "Thought you might like to see who you saved. F." Monica held the photo gently, her fingers brushing the edges. Her lips parted, and something that looked like a tear welled in the corner of her eye. Then she smiled. A real one. And she stood straighter than ever. Because for the first time since she came home, someone had truly seen her. Not as a waitress. Not as a scarred woman. But as a protector. As a survivor. As someone who didn't just make it home, but made it count.